Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to tackle a question that's very often asked to me, and I'm going to call this video Homeschooling 101. What about grade levels? You know, it's a common inside joke amongst homeschoolers to talk about grade levels and the fact that very often homeschooled kids have no idea what grade they're in. And even though I do refer to my own homeschooled children from time to time according to what grade they're in, according to what the school district would have them in, sometimes when people ask them what grade they're in, they have to think really hard about it because it isn't something that we really stress. And so I wanted to talk to you about why that is. You see, the fact is that grade levels, they're really only suited for the Prussian style school model. They're for categorizing students into that assembly line of learning that the factory school models do emulate. There is a reason for this. The entire model is based upon age segregation, something that does not have to happen in a homeschool. Yet, since it's something that we have all been brought up on, it's something that we very often have a hard time separating ourselves from. You know, a lot of times, even when you ask a child, how old are you? You're almost automatically calculating in your head what grade level they would be in. It's linked that closely together. So a lot of times if someone says to one of your children, what grade are you in? That's their way of asking, how old are you? Because they really don't separate between the two. And so that's really why it's a joke among homeschoolers, at least those who don't really use grade levels, because it's something that people really have a hard time understanding. Now there are a couple times that keeping your children on a specific grade level is helpful in homeschooling. So I'm not going to deny that fact. While homeschooling is all about allowing children to learn and grow on their own individual pace, there are times that you do want to try to keep your kids on their grade level they would be on if they were in school. And those times are if you are only homeschooling temporarily, if you know that your children are going to be at one point in time in the near future going back to school, then yes, it is probably very important that you do at least try to have them work on their grade level subjects, simply because that is what they're going to be expected to be able to do upon their return to school. Now, another time that you might want to have your kids working at their grade level is if you don't know for sure that they're going to be going back, but if you think there's a good chance that your kids are going to be going back to school sometime in the near future, you might want to again attempt to keep them at their grade level on certain things, simply so that when they go into the school system, they are at least somewhere on the same line that the rest of the students are. With that being said, and this goes for students in the public school setting too, just because you are doing grade level work with your homeschooled child does not mean that it is going to work for them. So, you know, you have to learn to understand to separate between the two. Yes, you might have to work on a certain grade level with your kids just because you know that you're going to be putting them back in school, but that doesn't always mean that that's what is best for them developmentally, but sometimes you do have to do it. Now, for the rest of us, I know that a lot of people don't assign any grade level at all to their kids, but you know, a lot of people do the same thing that I do. I just simply assign a grade level to my kids that they would be at if they were in school. And you know, I started doing that because when I file for my children at the school district every year, they always just automatically put down a grade level for whatever my kids would be in according to their birthday. But you know, for homeschoolers, this is really just for appearance's sake, just so that when people ask your kids, what grade are you in, they don't just look at you with this puzzled look on their face because they have no idea what to say. People don't understand that grade levels aren't necessary. They just can't understand the difference between school and education. But the thing is that even if you do refer to your children as being in a specific grade level when you are homeschooling, you do not have to teach this level across the board. So, for example, if you have a child who is in 5th grade, they might be 5th grade by age because they turned 10 years old by September 1st or whenever the date is in your school district. But that doesn't mean that you have to be doing all 5th grade work with them. They might be at 5th grade in writing. They might be at 8th grade in reading. They might be at 3rd or 4th grade in math. So the nice thing about homeschooling is that you can tailor your child's curriculum to meet their needs, because it is far less likely for a child to be on one grade level across the board than it is for children to be asynchronous learners. Most children are asynchronous learners. They will excel in some areas and they might fall behind on other areas. But does that really mean that you want to keep them all on the same level across the board? Hopefully you're thinking to yourself, no, that doesn't have to happen. Now, I've been reading, I just actually started it, Rethinking School, How to Take Charge of Your Child's Education by Susan Wise Bauer. And I had no idea that she was going to actually touch on grade levels. I just started this today, so I thought it was neat that I was reading this as I was preparing for this video today. But I wanted to read to you from this book because I thought it was a perfect illustration for what I'm referring to. And she is actually, she is quoting from a popular children's novel called Understood Betsy, which is a classic. And this is the excerpt from that book, Understood Betsy. After the lesson, the teacher said, smiling, "Well, Betsy, you were right about arithmetic. I guess you'd better recite with Eliza for a while. She's doing 2nd grade work. I shouldn't be surprised if after a good review with her, you'd be able to go on with the 3rd grade work." Elizabeth Ann fell back on the bench with her mouth open. She felt really dizzy. What crazy things the teacher said. She felt as though she was being pulled limb from limb. "What's the matter?" asked the teacher, seeing her bewildered face. Why, said Elizabeth Ann, "I don't know what I am at all. If I'm 2nd grade arithmetic and 7th grade reading and 3rd grade spelling, what grade am I?" The teacher laughed at the turn of her phrase. "You aren't any grade at all, no matter where you are in school. You're just yourself, aren't you? What difference does it make what grade you're in? And what's the use of your reading little baby things too easy for you just because you don't know your multiplication table?" Now, if you don't know the background to Understood Betsy, at that point, right before I read that excerpt to you, Betsy had been attending a Prussian model school that was based on the grade levels. And then she went and started going to a country school, which is a one-room schoolhouse where all of the different age level kids are taught together. And that is where that exchange with the teacher came in, where the teacher said to her, "What does it matter what grade you're in? You're you." And I think that's something that we as homeschoolers really need to embrace. And so this is where school in a box can backfire. I know that one of the go-to curriculums, especially for newer homeschoolers, but sometimes for homeschool parents who just really like to have everything neatly set out before them, is to go and purchase a school in a box. And I did that already. I did that with Life Pack, where you get all of the subject areas, but they all come on the same grade level. And as we've been talking about, that doesn't work for most kids. Most kids are not on the same grade level in all of their subject areas. So what do? Well, what if your child is advanced in reading but behind in math? Do you go to the lower end of the grade level that they would be in math and then stunt their growth for reading? So if they're only on a 3rd grade level for math and you don't think that they could handle anything higher, should you do all grade levels across 3rd grade, even reading the one that they're excelling at? Or adversely, do you nurture their advanced reading skills and hope that their math catches up? So if they're on a 7th grade reading level and a 3rd grade math level, do you purchase that 7th grade curriculum across the board and just hope against all hopes that your child will have no issues and will eventually go from 3rd to 7th just because you want to nurture their talent in reading? Or what if you would attempt to find a happy medium? What if you would decide, okay, well, my child is in 3rd grade math, but in 7th grade reading. Maybe I'll just do 5th grade. So 5th grade is a little bit too high for math, and it's a little bit too low for reading, but it's a nice happy medium. Well, how happy is that going to be if you have a grade level that is not going to fit your child, no matter what subject area they're in? That is why it is so important to shop around when it comes to curriculum. Look at different learning styles, look at different homeschooling methods, and understand that you don't have to teach to all subjects on one grade level. And in fact, you don't have to teach to specific grade levels at all. For example, the CONUS unit study that we use, it says that it's for grade levels kindergarten through 8th, but that's as far as it goes. You know, I don't tell my daughter, okay, you're going to write a 4th grade composition today out of the CONUS curriculum. No, it is basically ungraded. It is for multiple age levels, and that is nice when it comes to homeschooling curriculum, is to have the flexibility. So what should you do? So if you don't want to go, too low and then their love of reading suffers, or too high and then they get stressed out on math, or somewhere in the middle and then both subject areas suffer, what should you do? Should you maybe just forget grade levels at all and teach your kids as the individuals that God created them to be? If you ask me, that's the best thing you can do. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram because YouTube disabled my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.